I think the big question today is, are we getting Warrior? Hey, it's Romania Black, and we are on volume 10 of Attack on Titan. We're a third of the way through the journey to catching up to where the anime is right now. Yeah, a third of the way through. Yes, but I'm really, really excited. I know that right now there's a MAPPA convention going on and things like that, and I've told Discord that all I want to know in terms of Attack on Titan at this point is if they give us a time frame and a date for the final part. If they release any kind of like, oh, it's coming in September or it's coming in October, that will help me out tremendously in knowing like timing along the manga releases. Because what I really don't want to happen is to get to the season 4 part 3 act 1 and watch it and then have to wait 6 more months and be like, why MAPPA? So I can't complain. I want them to give it their all, but at the same time, however, I'm the type of person that if I know a deadline for something, I'm like, okay, I've got to get this done by this date. So if they give me like October 2023 is when part 2 is the second act of season 4 part 3 is coming out, I'll be like, okay, I know I have to get done with the manga, catch up by then to have time to watch part 1 and then part 2. So I'm hoping that we get some information out of that. Patreon has been super helpful, and Discord is like, they are like salute on it. So I'm not worried about that. So by next week, maybe I'll have some more ideas. But I have a lot of comments from volumes 8 and 9 to talk about. So I want to talk about those before we dive into volume 10. But I'm going to say, I am really excited that we're at this point. In hindsight, I don't know if I love Ymir and Historia. Do not get me wrong. I love them as a couple. I love their characters. I think Ymir's character is fascinating. I think Historia's character is fascinating. But at this point in season 2, at the very early parts of it, I'll be honest, I was more intrigued by the mystery of who Historia was and who Ymir was than I was, if this makes sense, than the plot surrounding them. I was more interested, I think, plot-wise, in what was going on with Reiner, Bertolt, Connie, and that situation, and the whole idea of the Beast Titan and where are they going and blah, blah, blah. But I was fascinated with Ymir and Historia's characters at the early part of season 2, but this part of the plot point, I was like, it's fine. Like, it was okay. I was trying to like see like, where is this leading? Now, later on in season 2, when we get into Ymir's backstory, I was super fascinated. So I feel like these characters are taking us on a journey, and we think that we want to skip ahead and get to parts, but then when we get to the parts, we're like, oh crud, we should have paid attention the whole time. So, and that's why I'm glad I'm rereading through this manga. But speaking of which, tying back to previous volumes, Cart was asking, what if Marlowe was resurrected as the Colossal Titan? Oh, I've been telling people in the comments that I don't want to get too far ahead of myself and start talking again about events of season 3 too much, because we're gonna talk about it here soon when we get in the manga. However, that's a really interesting idea, because you have Erwin, who people have speculated how he would act as the Colossal Titan, and I feel like that's probably the most varied, because some people are like, he'd be all with Eren, and some are like, nope, that would not happen. He'd be kind of like Armin and Hanji and Levi, which is what I prescribe to. But with Marlowe is kind of a very, as Annie points out in the last volume, Marlowe is kind of a very extreme character ideal-wise, like Eren. Marlowe is very much about changing. It would be so curious, because Armin is very trepidatious in what he does, and Armin takes his time and kind of like he sometimes overthinks. He thinks so much on what he's about to do before he does it. Whereas Marlowe very much is like, no, he's like Eren. He's like, I have a sense of justice. I have ideals. Let's act on them. So from his speech to Annie in the last volume, if Marlowe had gotten the power of a Colossal Titan and decided to act on it, what would that have been like? That's such a what if question. Like, what if he'd had that power, and then if Eren had gone rogue like he intended to, what would have happened with that, right? I almost wonder too how Eren's actions would have been impacted if Armin had died, because a lot of the reason Eren is doing the things that he is doing is because of Mikasa and Armin. So I don't think that Eren only cared about Armin. He cared about, Sasha and Jean and Connie and Mikasa and everyone else. I'm curious how it would have impacted him. I think that there's such a domino effect that if Armin had died, we'll talk about it with Midnight Sun, but if he had died, there would have been such a domino effect that I think it's hard for us as the audience to fully know how Eren and others would have been impacted, right? It's weird. When we get to Midnight Sun and Hero, we will talk a lot about this. But I will say the idea of Marlowe as the Colossal Titan is fascinating to me because he has such a strong sense of ideals. I think he would clash with Eren. I think at some point, Eren and him would clash and Marlowe would be like, here's my ideals. And Eren's like, here's my ideals. And it would just be like, who's stronger? That's such a really cool question, and I really like that. So also Kark points out that the weapon scene at the dock was anime only, and I was like, oh yeah, they were like, yeah, it doesn't make much sense in the anime why there would be gun smuggling and things smuggling in the middle of the broad daylight, and it's like, yeah, in hindsight that doesn't make sense, but it was mainly just to establish more with Marlowe's character, which makes sense. And then I like the idea of everyone's reactions to Annie are telling of everyone's reactions to Annie when she's asked to go down to the basement and she reveals herself is very telling of their character. I like the idea that Eren is a huge judge of character and is based on gut feelings. He follows his gut. He judges a lot. He has lots of, this is what I think about you and this is what I'm going to go with. Very Aries of him. No. But he's a huge judge of character based on gut feelings. You have pathos. Here's my thing. I liken Eren, Mikasa, and Armin to ethos, logos, and pathos, like the three modes of thinking. You have Eren is pathos. He is emotion driven. Eren is driven by emotions. He's easily persuaded. And once he is persuaded on something, he buckles down hard and doesn't let go. He's very emotion, pathos driven. Then you have Mikasa, who is observant and good at instincts and understanding of relationships. I would liken her to ethos. She looks at credibility. She looks at people's relations, their dynamics, their history. She's very observant of all these things. She kind of looks at that ethos driven, like, okay, ethically, what should I do based on the things I observe around me? And then you have Armin, who is more logos driven, like he's detail oriented. He looks through a utilitarian angle with everything. He's logically evaluating like what is the most sound decision? What should we do thinking about, the logistics? Like you have Eren pathos, Mikasa ethos, and Armin logos. Looking at that, which is so fascinating to me. I really liked that idea. So then we have, does that relate to Annie, Reiner, and Bertolt? Are Annie, Reiner, and Bertolt at ethos, logos, and pathos, like the three of them? Or are they kind of like an inverse of it, right? I would think Bertolt kind of would be the logos, sort of like Armin, which would make a lot of sense. And then, but honestly, I think that ties together because we talked about how later on we find out that Reiner and Eren are the same, supposedly. Reiner's very much pathos. He's driven by emotion. Like how he feels about things, how he feels about being a soldier, and how he feels about Connie's plight and everything. He's very emotion driven. And then Mikasa, much like Annie's very ethos driven too. She looks at people's dynamics and their credibility and whether she feels like she can trust them or not. And she looks at them through a very ethical standpoint, which ties back to her speech. So I like the idea that they're kind of an inverse of that, which is sort of neat. I think it's really interesting. Alex Johnson pointed out that Annie was told by Armin back when their ODM gear was inspected that he thought that she was nice. And that could be why she spared him, because no one had ever told her that before. She'd never been viewed as a nice person before. And so Armin telling her that for the first time is maybe what caused her to hesitate to kill him. And then you connect to Smile and the possibility of talking and negotiating being an option. And it gets to the point in that episode and that chapter where they don't feel like talking is available anymore or possible. And that makes Annie act. So it kind of goes back to what Bertolt's going to tell us later on in Charge when we get to it in the manga about just wanting to be seen as human, just wanting to be heard. And I think that ties thematically into a lot going on in this story where Annie's like, she spared Armin's life because he was kind to her and gave her a piece of feedback about her being a good person she'd never heard before. And the idea that someone could be influenced by a simple set of words to not kill someone, I think is emblematic of Isayama's whole point. He's like, violence does not beget peace. You need to talk. You need to create understanding and empathy and create a bond between both sides if you're going to stop the cycle. And for a brief moment, that's what happens with Annie and Armin. He stops the cycle for a brief moment by acknowledging her humanity, and she thus stops the cycle for a brief moment by not killing him, by sparing him. And then, because no one gets that's what's going on, the cycle perpetuates over again, and it kind of gets overridden by the multitude of voices that aren't, adhering to that one, like, oh, wow, that eureka moment. So it's so fascinating that, Isayama's getting at the themes very, little bit at a time, but he's also pointing out how difficult it is to put them in action when the cycle keeps going, right? That's so fascinating to me, though. So then, and then we have Daki. Daki had a big comment. Daki had like a Daki or Dasi, however you want to pronounce your handle, had a huge comment. There were so many good nuggets of things I wanted to talk about before we started volume 10. But one was the idea that Annie basically was predicting the idea of how problematic it will be when Aaron came into power. Aaron didn't become like president of parody or anything like that, but he gained enough power to kind of be the emblematic ruler of parody, essentially, which is hilarious to me because we talk about royalty and things like that, which I'll get to here in a moment with Alexander Q and Joseph's comments. But Dossie pointing out how Annie was predicting the idea that eliminating people is not the answer. It's changing the environment that those people live in, which Aaron is doing essentially with the rumbling. He's changing the environment by completely eradicating it. But but Annie's whole point in that speech was that it's not going to make a difference how many people we kill from the other side. That won't matter. Because if the environment stays the same, if the society stays the same, if the system stays the same, it doesn't matter what side you destroy. The system is still going to perpetuate that behavior and that ideal and ideology to where it's going to affect people no matter who they are. Like if parody is just left being the only group of people in the world, we've seen how they've self-imploded just because of disagreements about ideologies and the system. So it won't matter if they're the last people on Earth. If there's arguments and squabbles within that, it's still going to beget violence and cause problems for Armin and them. And we'll talk about that when we get to season 4, part 2 content, because I have so many issues. But it's been fun talking about Aaron with everybody on the Discord and on Patreon and YouTube, because when I watched the anime, I'll be honest, Aaron was not my favorite character. By the end of season 4, part 2, I was like, grumble, grumble, grumble with Aaron. And as you know, because of my hours of ranting, I'm not the biggest Aaron fan. I appreciate him more in the manga already. We're barely into season 2, and I already appreciate Aaron's character a lot more because I think the manga, Isayama does a cool thing with Aaron as the main character, and that he's not just like your stereotypical shonen MC where he's just like, I'm gonna fight the baddies. He kind of is at the beginning, but you already see in the manga a more, we'll talk about here in a second, but more of a desperation and fear in him that you normally don't get in your MCs in such a nuanced way, which is really good. I'm understanding Aaron's character a lot more, and it's making him more tragic. Like, it's making it just being like, he's being pushed in all these directions, and you see what he's thinking, and you're like, Aaron, if only you could see this one little thing that could change your mind or make you understand something. But he doesn't, and it's so frustrating, right? As a reader, it's so frustrating. But yeah, Aaron doesn't do this. He thinks that and Annie's, it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Aaron doesn't believe. He's like, oh, well, if I just eradicate everyone else that's against us, we'll be fine. But we already see like the dissent and all the madness it's caused within the system he's trying to protect that kind of goes against that. And so it's like, like I said, we'll talk about when we get to season 4, part 2. But Aaron really needed to hear Annie's words to Marlowe. Aaron needed to hear that. And I feel like that is my main thesis with Aaron. There's so many times when characters in this series have revelations and say these very impactful things to the plot of the whole story. And the whole time I'm listening, I'm like, I wish Aaron were here to hear this too. But he's not. So there you go. I also had on here that Annie talks about going against the flow and about being special. And this part, again, when we get to season 4, part 2, or season 4, part 1 even, it's going to be like, oh my God. But the idea that Annie's like, you are special just for going against the flow. You're special just for going against the flow of the system to begin with. And God, I wish Aaron could have heard that, because Aaron believes, Aaron, we're going to get to season 3. We'll get to season 3 and we'll go through all that. And so I don't want to talk about it too much, because then I don't want to repeat myself when we get to it. But Aaron, at some point, he believes he's special because of his abilities. They make him special. And that he's like, there could be like a prophecy and stuff like that. And there kind of is, but there isn't. But we'll get to that. But it turns out Aaron's just a victim of circumstance. And that kind of shatters his whole view of being special. And it doesn't pick back up, as Dossie notes, until he sees his mom in the flashback, who says, you're special for being born. Just being born makes you special. And then he kind of gets reinvigorated by hearing that. And then in season 4, part 1, that is even shattered, because when he hears Willie Tyber's speech about Willie Tyber being like, well, it's because I was born that I have this right. Suddenly it occurs to Aaron, shit, no, I'm not special, because this guy it's the same thing. These people that are doing what he considers to be bad things are under the guise of the exact same reasoning that he has. And we'll talk more about it in season 4, part 2. I don't want to get too far into it, because again, we've got so much ground to cover. But I again wish he had heard Annie talking about him being special just by going against the system, because Annie's touching on a point that Armin gets to later, where he's like, no, it's not about doing these grand giant things like destroying worlds. It's doing little things like going against the flow of the system and doing little gestures that make, like what Keith says, in just making small impacts that will make a grander domino effect later on. And Aaron just doesn't see that. And it's so sad. And I'm like, So that was really good, Docky. I'm glad you brought those comments up. Apparently also Isayama sent multiple sketches of Annie laughing as a reference to the anime team, so they could get her laugh down for the anime adaptation, because it makes sense for her laughing and blushing and giving her more depth and dynamic in that, which I really liked in the anime adaptation. I would give so much money to have one of those sketches, though. Man, if they would sell those sketches of Annie like in laugh mode, like for charity or something, I would buy one in a heartbeat. I just frame it up there, the Annie laughing. I think that'd be so cool. Alexander Q, speaking of which, talks about how Annie had to go from the manga because she knew too much. Annie was figuring out too many of the complicated themes Isayama was putting down, and Isayama was like, crap, if she talks to Aaron, this could derail the entire plot. I'll be in this crystal's pod for the next, 3 seasons. I feel like Isayama wrote himself into a corner with Annie, because Annie's such a good character, and she figures out so much, and she has so much to offer the story in terms of theme. And I feel like Isayama was like, shit, if I don't get rid of her now, then I won't be able to get to the themes when I want to get to them, because she'll point them out to everybody. So I'll just stick her in this little crystal pod and just put her out to the side here until I'm ready to use her. Till she's ready to come back in, and the other characters have figured out what she figured out. We'll just put her out to the side. And I'm like, that's a very good point. I'm just glad, Death Note spoilers for the next 30 seconds. Just skip the next 30 seconds if you don't want to hear Death Note spoilers. I'll hold my hand up till I'm done talking about Death Note. I'm just glad that she didn't get Naomi'd. I'm glad, because in Death Note, the creator figured out that Naomi, the character, was going to figure out everything too soon, so he had her killed off by Light early on. I'm glad Annie didn't get killed off this early on because she knew too much. I would have been pretty mad, and I think, even though I'm not to that part yet, I just ended where part 2 of season 4 ends, I have a feeling Annie's going to have, based on what we know, end of Death Note spoilers, based on what we know of Annie and how she's figured things out, and how we know Isayama likes to make things come full circle, I have a feeling Annie will have a bigger part in season 4, part 3, but we just don't know that yet. Or I don't know that yet, what her big role is going to be. But I think she's going to have a big role, and I think Isayama kept her alive for that role, and I'm going to wait to see it, and I'm going to be like, dang it, come on. So yeah, I think that's interesting. But yeah, and Aaron learns in this volume that you cannot wait, but you have to act or you're going to die. That was one thing Alexander Q and I were talking about that's so tragic, is that Aaron, people keep telling him in this volume, in the last volume, they're like, or back in volume 8, people keep telling him, they're like, do things or you'll die. Act quickly or we're going to die. Like, Aaron gets conditioned to this idea that there's no time to process and think rationally. You have to go ahead and just do the damn thing and then worry about it later. And which is so tragic, because then we see Aaron still try to hold on to his ideals, still try to be like, okay, I'm going to wait. And then when things aren't changing, he finally reaches a breaking point and he's like, I can't wait anymore. And it's just like, it's just so frustrating, right? And then finally, Joseph talks about how, again, compared to the anime and how they kind of shonen-fy him up in the anime for season 1, Aaron in the manga is much more insecure and desperate. And I think that's what I love about him in the manga so far, is that, yeah, his character is much more relatable and understandable. And I think that it ties much more into how he is in later seasons than anime Aaron season 1. And I get it. I get why they did it, because at the time, the anime, when season 1's anime was going on, season 2's content was just getting in the manga. So the animators didn't know. But, when you first look at Aaron in the manga, if you didn't know what was going to happen with his character, you may assume that you're like, wow, he's kind of a wet blanket and he's kind of insecure and desperate. Do we want our main protagonist to be like that? He should be more epic and cool. So I get why the anime team made him in season 1 a little bit more like shonen-fied. I get it. But it's fun to look back on, because then when you see him in seasons 3 and seasons 4, you're like, this is not quite the same Aaron in season 1. But so far, looking back at the manga, you're like, oh no, it is. It is the same Aaron. We're just seeing it like, we're seeing all of the dominoes surmounting and it all getting crazy. Yeah, it's so fascinating to see. I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, that was like 20 minutes of comments, so sorry about that, but I had a lot of really good comments from the last couple volumes. I'm like, yes, please. That was awesome. So we've got volume 10. I'm really excited, y'all. I'm like, is this going to be Warrior? Or is it going to be volume 11? We're going to find out, right? So let's not waste any more time. We are going to examine Attack on Titan's manga volume 10 by Hajime Isayama. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's go. So yeah, I really like this cover. I like that it has, it's not a misleading cover, because you know that Aaron and Mikasa show up at the Utgard Tower just right at that moment by the end of the volume. You're like, okay, well, this thematically works. But what I love is that Ymir, Bertel, and Reiner look just like, they just look like, okay, here we go. Whereas Connie and Historia are freaking out, and Aaron and Mikasa are like, oh, okay. These 3 don't look as concerned because they're the Titan Warriors. So yeah. Oh, Bertolt! Yes! Yes, Warrior! Yes! Okay, alright! I'm so excited. Soldier, oh my god, look at the contents! You start out with chapter 39, Soldier, and you end with chapter 42, Warrior. Oh, Isayama, you bastard! So planned. And in between Soldier and Warrior is Ymir and Historia. Shut up! That's best table of contents so far. I'm done. Again, Aaron actually looks older in this little table of contents here. Aaron from season 1 into season 2 looks very young. And so it's almost kind of jarring when we see him in season 3. By the end of it, as he's getting older, it's kind of jarring, and he has like the worst haircut ever. Season 3 Aaron's haircut is awful. I hate it so much. It's like a bad high school decision haircut. But here in the manga, he actually looks older already, and so you kind of already, it seems like a progression, right? Oh, Mike has been X'd out. That's sad. Damn it. No. And then Marco's still there, because of course Marco's still there. Now Ymir's name is on there, which is fun. Okay, oh my god! Oh yeah! The siblings. Yeah, what everybody thinks are Connie's siblings that are fighting each other. Oh my god. Isayama. Just why? And they're sitting there just fighting each other. Oh, that is the creepiest thing, right? The Isayama, without telling us, before we even know that it's Connie's village that's been turned into Titans, the fact that he includes that in there to be like, here's an Easter egg for when you figure it out and you go back to check it out again. Ha ha ha. I'm like, what the fudge, Isayama? Why? So many butts in that shot. So many butts. All right. And then, oh my God, Thomas and Nanaba. Oh, man. You dumb piece of shit. Oh, my God. Oh, this just... Not feeling it. Not feeling it. And then Utgard Castle. Oh, and it smashed the other little ones. Okay. I mean, you called it a big moron, but you literally severed its nape. It had no choice. Oh, Gelgar. Okay, so it's not Thomas. Why'd they call... I guess... Is Gelgar his last name? Yeah. He's like, I just wanted my drink. Oh my God. And the one Titan crawling out from underneath. How creepy. How creepy. But then, yeah, the Titans have like made their way inside. They've entered the tower and put up the barricades. Okay, so we are going to get this point where Connie gets saved by Reiner. Okay. And them all going down there. And of course, Reiner is like, Reiner being a natural leader, he just takes it on himself. And Bertolt's like, hold on. He's always the first to rush into danger. It's a bad habit of his. Oh, Bertolt. Ah! And then, yeah, oh my God, this part creeped me out. Yes! Oh no! Oh, it's so, Isayama, why do you make it so creepy? No! Ew, it's like, this whole entire Utgard Castle thing had such a zombie feel to it. And zombies freak me out. Like Day of the Dead and like Dawn of the Dead. They're such creepy movies to me. But yeah, it feels like such a zombie movie. Oh my God. Yeah. Ooh. This feels like some zombie stuff, right? Bring something, anything. And then, yeah. And then Reiner saying, am I going to die here? What if he had? Oh, yeah! And then him as a kid. Oh, and then Marcel knocked him out of the way. Wow! The Titan there of Ymir. Isayama, the way that he draws her in that Titan form, you wouldn't know it was Ymir, right? Isn't that crazy? Yeah, you really wouldn't know. But then the two of them. So at this point, you don't know who Marcel is. So you're thinking they're going, what's happening? What's going on? And he's like, that's wrong. I won't die here. Like, he remembers, he's like, no, I'm a Titan warrior. I'm not going to die here. What are we talking about? And then, yeah. I always wondered why Marcel didn't turn into a Titan shifter at that moment. Like, why didn't he just bite his hand and become the Titan that he is? I always wondered that. But plot? Then the plot wouldn't have progressed. But I always wondered, like, in the moment, I get that he shoved Reiner out of the way. And I guess he wasn't thinking, in the moment there was panic and he wasn't thinking about it. But I'm like, you're a trained warrior. Why didn't you just bite your hand and have the goal in mind and turn into a Titan shifter and then get her out of the way? I guess then the plot wouldn't have happened. So never mind. Never mind. But yeah, he's like, I have to go home to our hometown. I like that they always call it their hometown. They never specifically say Marley, so that we, the audience, we just think, oh, their hometown, somewhere on Parody. But nope. And then Bertolt just stabbing it through the eyes. No hesitation. He's Bertolt. We'll live this and get home. We're going home. And Bertolt's like, shit. Bertolt's like, yeah, we're going back. At this point, I was so suspicious of the two of them because it's mainly Bertolt that gives it away because Bertolt's just like in full-on internal scream mode this entire time. But Bertolt being like, yeah, we're going back. And then that's when they shove the cannon down. Oh, I like the Titans grabbing the pitchfork. That's so creepy. And then, yeah, they get it with it, but it's like, did you really kill it? You know, until you cut its nape, you're not going to do it. And all he has is the knife. And that's, of course, around the time that another Titan comes through where the other one was smashed by the cannon. And then, oh my God, that's when Reiner like shoves him out of the way. Oh man, for Reiner to grab the jaw of that Titan and push it around, Reiner is freakishly strong. And then it grabs his, God. And Bertolt, and I like Ymir holds Historia back. And Reiner picking up the Titan, because they're not that heavy. We established by Hanji that they're not super heavy, right? And that he like goes to jump, and that's when Connie stabs it in the mouth to get it to let go. To let go of his arm. He's like, if I can cut its jaws muscles, your arm will get out. Oh, that's interesting that like the Titan didn't immediately get thrown off. It was just sitting there in the window like, oh, I'll go. And then Ymir and Bertolt were like, nope. I like that Ymir and Bertolt are like, get out. That's good. That's good. And then they try to barricade the door. Yep. Oh my God. I just like that they yoink, just knock him out there. Oh. And she's like, I'm sorry. Putting the liquor over it. That's probably fractured. Yeah. And then of course she like tears the skirt to make the bandage. She's like, all I have is this dirty cloth. I'm sorry. He's like, no, I'm grateful. Marry me. He's like, oh my God, marry me, please. Oh, Historia. And he says, I'm okay. And then Ymir says, Krista, my hand got skinned too. Will you please tear your skirt to help bandage it? Oh my God, I love it. I love that Connie's like, just spit on it. Stop it. And he says he's sorry. You're always saving my ass. Annie risked her life to save me too. I need to repay you someday. And then Reiner thinks back to Marcel saving them. It was my duty, we're soldiers. Now this line, I'm not so sure I could risk my life just like you did without even a second's hesitation. Bertolt, has Reiner always been like this? No, Reiner used to be a warrior. He's different now. And at that time, I remember watching the reaction, and when he said he used to be a warrior, but he's different now, and Reiner's like, what are you talking about with warrior? And Bertolt's like, you don't remember because you've like mentally blocked it. All I could think about was Annie saying, I'm not a warrior anymore. And I was like, oh, there's a connection. I was like, yes. And then I like that Ymir says, we need to gather up anything that seems usable so we can die with no regrets. Our lives depend on how skilled our officers are. Yeah, so I like that oddly enough, Ymir seems to have like the same mentality as Levi. Looking back, Ymir and Levi have very similar personalities and motivations when they're in battle. The main thing is like, if Levi had been all in on Erwin, like Ymir is on Historia, then they would have been even more similar, but they're not, or at least not outwardly. And that's so interesting. And then Gallagher and Nanaba still fighting them, and they ask, "What's that sound?" Oh my God. Oh my God! Is it the Beast Titan? I can't remember if it is or not. Oh, what was that? Like, who else would be throwing horses at the building, right? Who else would be doing that? A boulder came flying over towards the wall. That's what got them. Yeah! Yep. Mm-hmm. There was one Titan that was walking towards the wall. The Beast Titan. And then all these other Titans are coming. Yep. They were toying with us from the start. Oh my gosh. And then the Beast Titan yelling to get them to go. It's interesting that Beast Titan and Annie have the similar ability to call Titans, right? And to somewhat control them. Mm-hmm. Ymir. Okay. And then there he goes. I just thought, and he crawls back on the other side of the wall, right? He's like, we're just going to get them taken care of. I do find it curious that Zeke doesn't stick around to see what's going to happen. I guess Zeke trusts that Bertolt and Reiner will take care of things. I guess he trusts that they've got this under control, if he even knows that they're there. So, yeah, he may not even know that Bertolt and Reiner are there. That's interesting. 20 hours after the Titans were spotted. Yep. Oh, my God. And then she's like, we're almost out of gas. And, yeah, they're just messing with the tower at this point, right? And then, yeah, the one Titan falls and breaks up the tower. The tower's not going to hold for long. Yeah, it's just bits. It's like Jenga. It just keeps getting taken apart. And, like, you know it's not going to last. It's going to fall. And I'm out of blades and gas. Oh, I didn't have time to keep count. And then that's when we see Gelgar and his face. Like, oh, in the anime, they like waited till the last moment to show how he'd hit his head. And then in here, they kind of show it ahead of time. I don't have any strength left. And then he nearly falls off the tower. And then that's when she's out of gas. Oh, damn it. Oh my God. Gelgar and Nanaba's deaths are so cruel because they spent all that time fighting the Titans, all those hours trying their best to stop them. And it almost feels like a representation of, again, the fact that the violence doesn't solve the problem, because it's like no matter how many Titans you kill, no matter how many of the enemy you kill, there will always be more to take its place. Like that seems like the representation of what's being argued in their deaths, being like, you will not reap any benefits by just trying to eliminate the enemy. There will always be more to come back and take its place. You'll just create new enemies by doing that. So it feels very, like looking back on it now, it feels very thematic that Isayama was trying to say like, see, this is not a good idea. Not a good strategy. Like instead, you see on the inside of the tower, Connie and Reiner forging this bond of two enemies, even though they don't realize they're enemies yet. And it already making a bond and a relationship from something that was once something like this on the outside. And then poor Gelgar. That's so cruel! The drop misses his lips. Ah! Like it couldn't have moved up another inch. Damn it. Who drank the entire bottle and it was being used. Oh, being used to save Reiner. I like that Chris is like, take this! The tower's coming apart, you'll fall. They sacrificed themselves to us. Oh my God. Oh, and then Nanaba, like it ate her leg off. Oh. Man, okay, so they did not show us Nanaba. Did they show us that? No. Nanaba's death in the anime, she like cried out for her mom or her dad or something and it was terrifying. Here she just gets ripped apart. Which is still terrible, but I feel like the anime made it even more terrifying. I was like, oh my God. Like adding that extra layer of darkness. And Connie's like, isn't there anything we can do? Something. I just wanted it to have some meaning. Our mission's half finished and now we're going to be wiped out. And then Historia says, I wanted to fight too if I had a weapon. I could die fighting with them. And Ymir, oh, that look. She says, are you still going on about that? Don't use their deaths. They didn't die so you'd have an excuse to commit suicide. Oh, and that look. Oh, Historia with those eyes. Historia's eyes right there are very Eren-like. Like, she's like, what did you just say? She's like, you're not like Connie or the officers. You don't really think I don't want to die. You've always tried to think of ways to martyr yourself so everyone will praise you. I like that everybody around him was like, where did this come from? What have you guys been talking about? What? She's like, this is probably the end. Try to remember the promise we made when we trained on the snowy mountains together. Are they actually going to go back and show this to us? I didn't want it to be anime only. Okay, good. They're not going back. Good. I was like, good. We're going to actually see this. And Dawes, yep. Talking about saving Dawes. Leave behind Dawes and the two of us can survive. She's like, the third choice, you can go ahead to safety. There's no trouble for you. And she's like, so determined to save him. Your plan isn't about saving Dawes at all, is it? Yeah. You said I would die, so you realized you were going to die at this rate too. You were thinking of dying here like this, weren't you? You wanted to entrust me, the legend of Krista, the goddess. You're a good girl, Krista. You've got to at least pretend to be interested in saving this man enough for me to ask for help. Just because you want other people to think of you as someone who'd literally die for another, dragging someone else to his death just for that. Only a bad girl would do that, right? Again, I like this idea. We go back to Annie talking about the good girl versus the bad girl. And Historia's whole thing has been about how she presents herself. And it goes back to the story of Ymir in the book that her sister read to her and things like that. But yeah, at the time, it didn't fully hit me. I think until reading it now, the themes here didn't fully hit me watching the anime. But it's the idea that she really wasn't about saving Dawes. It could have been anybody. It wouldn't have mattered who it was, whether he was friend or foe. The idea is that she didn't want Ymir to die. So she was like, you go on ahead and save yourself and go get help. But Historia being like, it's so tragic, right? Because Historia, in this moment, Ymir is saying that Historia doesn't care about her life. She just wants to leave a good impression for others to remember her by, and so that people will praise her and remember her in a good way as a good person when she herself doesn't believe that. It's kind of the exact opposite of Eren. Eren, by season 4, part 2, does not care if he's viewed as a monster or a villain or a horrible person. He's going to do whatever he can to save his friends that he loves more than others. But Historia doesn't really have any love for anyone at this point, so she's more concerned about dying she wants to be seen as being a good person, even though she has nothing to latch onto at this point. And Ymir ends up convincing her to latch onto her. But at this point in the snowstorm, Historia has nothing to latch onto, so she just wants to die a good person and be remembered as such. Whereas Eren has something he's latched onto, doesn't care if he's viewed as a villain. It kind of goes back to Pixis' logic. Doesn't care if he's viewed as a villain as long as he gets the job done and saves the people he cares about. So total opposites. It's really interesting. She's like, you're the mistress's daughter who was expelled from the family. It was you. And she overheard at the church. Yep. They said killing you would solve everything, but you were sent to live away under a fake name. Yep. She's like, I haven't told anyone and I won't sell the information. And why did you do this to find me? I thought maybe we were alike. And she's like, in general, our backgrounds. Did you want to become friends with me? I love that Ymir's like, oh, no way, definitely not friends with you. What? More than friends. I like that at first Ymir's like, what, friends? Oh, we could become friends. And it's like the narrator voice goes over. It's like, and then they became friends. It's like, for starters, we aren't on the same level. I happened to get a chance to live a whole new life. I was reborn as a new person. But then that happened. I didn't hide my old name. Denying that I was born as Ymir would be to admit defeat. I'm keeping my name as I live this new life. Living this way is my way of getting revenge. I'm going to be living proof that your fate isn't decided at birth. So what about you? Are you going to kill yourself? The ultimate act of submission. Is that how you want to please the people who treated you like a nuisance? Yeah, I love this. I love Ymir being like, I'm going to defy fate by living this life. My way of getting revenge is to live through, because her whole thing was she was born to die. She was born to be a sacrifice. And she's like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to live my own life and prove my fate isn't decided at birth. And then she's like, what are you going to do, Historia? Why are you trying to hurt yourself? If your will is that strong, shouldn't you be able to change your fate? And that's kind of, again, going along the lines of Eren. She's like, why are you trying to hurt yourself? If your will's that strong, change your own fate. And that's kind of the dilemma that Eren goes through, right? And the crazy thing is, Eren does hurt himself to become a Titan along the way, but he finally gets to the point in season 4 where his will is strong enough to seemingly change his fate. But then the complication is like, is he changing his fate, or is he going along with a fate that he created for himself through the Attack Titan? So it's just like, Isayama, why do you make things complicated? And Historia's saying, I can't. There's no way we can make it back to safety. She's like, I can see a light at the bottom of the cliff. Okay. And then she's like, just go on ahead. And then, okay. And then Historia, she like throws Historia down the hill so that she can get away. She's like, I really did something stupid. And then Dawes is there. So she took Dawes down the hill in Titan form and got there. And she's like, how'd you get there from that cliff? Oh, what a great tie back. Even if you did that cliff, how'd you get Dawes down from up there? And she's like, I'll tell you, but when I reveal my secret, you'll go back to living by your old name. Oh, I love it. She's like, we're not gonna, you and I, we both have been hiding who we are. And when we decide that we're gonna reveal our secrets, we're gonna agree that we're not gonna live by those secrets anymore. We're gonna be ourselves. Oh, and then the light shining through. Yes, the sunlight. Oh my God. I like the little Titans kind of like looking over like, what is that? And then she's like, give me your knife, Connie. And I love that she like gives him the head pats. I'm going to fight. And she's like, they're like, what are you playing? She's like, I don't even know. I have no right to tell you how to live. This is a wish of mine. Live your life with pride. Oh my God. I love that idea of, which makes me kind of sad because I'm like, she tells, you know, Historia to live her life with pride. And I'm like, by the time we get to season 4, part 2, where she's having the baby, is she living her life with pride? I don't know. Again, we don't know what's going to happen, right? Krista, I'm the same way. I thought it would have been better if I'd never been born. She's like, we are the same way. But that's not, and again, we tie back to Eren, you know, the idea of, is it better if you've never been born, or is it the best thing ever that you've been born? Oh, I love this. The world hated me just for existing. To bring happiness to many people, I died. But when I did, I wished for something from the bottom of my heart. If I could be born again, I wanted my next life for no one but myself. Oh my God, that image, that panel of Ymir is so freaking good. Oh my God. And the idea that when you become a Titan, you die. And then if you become a warrior, you're reborn again. I wish so hard. Ah, yeah. Oh my God. Oh, that's so good. Oh, Ymir. I freaking love it. I love it. I love that Reiner and Bertolt are like, what? One of the close-up that they realize it's Marcel. So it does kind of look like, Ymir does look like that, right? Oh, the Jaw Titan. Yep. That's the Titan from that day. That day! Those two words have such impact in this series. That day. Oh my God. Bertolt's like, what the fuck? Historia. Oh my God, this one Titan like is so like, hello! Like so happy to see them. Oh my God. Just going all the way around. Like seeing how effective the Jaw Titan can be in this moment is, even when it's Ymir and not like the full-on warrior version that Marcel was and that Porco is so fascinating. It's so interesting. And then, yeah, Historia nearly falls and Reiner saves her. Reiner, my leg! And he's like, you can let go. Oh, and Reiner doesn't think. He's so distracted in the moment by Ymir. And he said, Krista, did you know about Ymir being a Titan? Oh, that's such a good shot of Ymir over the top of them. And she's like, no, we were close. But she's like, I didn't see this coming. We were together for 3 years. It's like, that's Ymir. Oh my God, Ymir like trying to force her to drink. I don't want it to be true. Oh my God, that mouth. Oh. But then Historia ends up loving Ymir even though she is a Titan. It's like Beauty and the Beast. It's the tale as old as time. She knew one of the greatest secrets in the world, and I never even suspected it. She should have told us and contributed to the core like Aaron. But maybe she didn't because she couldn't. Yeah, and then Connie points out that Aaron didn't know he could become a Titan, but Ymir knew about her powers. Which is she? Is she an enemy of humanity or not? Yeah, that's because that's interesting that they're like, she should have told them about her powers, but like, I feel like, there is a distinct difference there. Maybe she couldn't. Like, they're trying to say, like, why didn't she say anything? But again, that ties to the idea that Ymir said, I'm living my life for myself, not for anybody else. Aaron, like, instantly jumps to the cause, and he's like, yes, I'll do whatever you want, Pix says. I'll help save everyone, even if it's begrudgingly, or if Aaron's not entirely on board. He agrees to use his powers to help others. And that goes back to last volume, where in the cart, they're like, so you're going to use your powers to help plug the wall, right? You're going to do things for us, right? And Aaron's just like, sure, yep, can do. Ymir be like, F no, I'm doing this for myself. I ain't helping you all. I ain't helping you bitches. Like, Ymir is very much like, I'm living for me, and my powers are for me and what I want to do with them, not for what you want me to do with them. So that's a really cool contrast and dynamic with Ymir and Aaron. That's interesting. And he's like, Connie says, yeah, she always seemed unfazed no matter what the situation is. It's because she was hiding this power and we never knew what she was really thinking. And then, of course, Bertolt is, what is Ymir's goal? Bertolt looks so menacing standing over Historia like a colossal Titan. What could her goals be? And she's like, maybe we're the like. Yep, and then Krista thinking back, go back to living by your old name. And I love that. Oh my gosh. And as Historia is thinking about this and what Ymir is, I love that Historia, she is faced with all this pressure by those around her to think that Ymir is a bad person and isn't what she thought she was. But then Ymir realizes, no, this is Ymir. This is her. It's okay. She's going to help us. Oh my gosh. Oh, Isayama. This just like, and it's just like a little hunched over. Ymir being so tiny. Oh, like the face, like the big, even though they're like the big black eyes, there's like a little gleam in them. I don't know why I think that's such a cute panel of Ymir. It's not cute, it's hideous, but it's like it looks like a shark, like a little fish face, and Historia's like, I kind of like it. No. And then Ymir let go. Couldn't she be worried? She doesn't want to damage the tower. And that's when Historia's like, no, she should be able to use her Titan powers to escape this place by herself. She knows she can't defeat them all, but she's still fighting. She's risking her own life to protect us. And Connie's like, oh my God. And Reiner's like, things don't look good for her. And then I love that Historia gets all fired up. And she's like, no, Ymir. She's like, Ymir, don't die. Don't die here. And then Historia has her big speech. Why are you trying to act like a saint? You really want to look cool as you die that much, you jerk. I love Kai's like trying to keep her from falling off the tower. Live for your own sake. We both know you're rotten to the core. Are you such a moron you think you could still get into heaven? If protecting this tower is going to kill you, then just smash it to pieces. I love that Historia's like, don't act like a saint. You are not. Don't be something you're not. She's like, just be yourself. And then I love that, God, I love that Ymir starts smashing it. And because she was afraid of smashing the tower because it could put them in danger, but that's what needed to happen to save them. And again, that goes back to the last several volumes where Aaron was questioning what to do and if it would put people in danger or not. And where there's been characters in the past several volumes hesitate because they were afraid of that it could possibly hurt the people they care about. And Ymir and Historia in this point, it's like Historia's like, just destroy the tower. Don't worry about us. Do what you gotta do to save yourself. We'll figure it out. Or protect us, but don't worry about hurting us if it's gonna kill yourself. Like, don't put us in front of your own needs. And then, yep. And then I love, she's like, that's it, Ymir. Like, as she's smashing it. God, I love that panel of Historia and Ymir at the bottom. And Ymir looks so huge. God, with Historia with her hands up in the air and Ymir towering over her. That maybe is my favorite panel of those two so far. God, I love that. And she says, grab on to live. And they all grab her hair. Yep. Oh my God. Oh my God. Love it. Love it. And then they get out there, get off the tower. What a crazy plan. I love the stories like Ymir. Like Ymir, there you are. And then yeah, they're gonna go to finish them off. Oh my God. And then what ends up happening? Oh my God, they grab her. Oh, Ymir. Oh gosh, that's awful. There's something I still need to tell you. I haven't told you my real name. Oh man. At this point, it's like, yeah, you're shipping Ymir and Historia. There's no way to not ship Ymir and Historia. Like, this is the most romantic, like, epic thing. And then Mikasa comes in, it's like, sup. Which, again, hilarious that you have an Ackerman saving the royal family because you have Kinney and Yuri. So, yeah, Kinney and Uri. So, yeah, an Ackerman saving the royal family member. What? Who saw that coming? And then there's Levi. And Levi's there too! Saving the royal family member. The Ackermans are the first ones on the job to save the royal family. Like you do. Like what? Oh, and then leave this to us. Okay. And then that's when, oh my God. Wow, Aaron's first Titan that he took down was at Utgard with Historia and the Warriors. Imagine that. It always feels so weird. I forget that Aaron kills like very few Titans in this whole thing. Aaron kills like virtually no Titans at all. And it baffles me that you forget about that, right? You forget about it. And they're like, Aaron! And then, yeah, everything's just a mess. And then there's the shot of all of them. Wow, the anime adapted that really well. And then Ymir. Oh. My name is Historia. Oh, and then Hanji's sitting there like, oh shit, she's lost an arm and half her side. Yep, and Ymir. Oh, that smile. Oh, they made Historia look so angelic in that shot in the anime. So angelic, but it's like, here's the ship, y'all. Here's Ymir and Historia. Oh my God, I love that so much. Warrior! Ah! Okay. All right. Her leg and right arm and right leg were bitten off, and her organs are like scrambled eggs. Enough to kill a normal person, but not her, and she's steaming like she's regenerating. Aaron grabbing Reiner's hand. Yep, Reiner, grab on. Yeah. Oh my God. Just all that moment of Aaron grabbing Reiner's hand is just so like, Isayama, how dare you? How dare you? And so, yeah, Ymir, like, Historia trying to tell Hanji everything. She showed loyal to us as her comrades. She was concerned for her own well-being. I like that Historia has so much faith in her. She's much less complicated than she looks. Ah! That's great. I love it. And then Hanji's like, well, yes, I would like to have a friendly relationship with her too, but this is really complex. And your real name is Historia Reese. as in the noble family. Mm-hmm. Yep, and then poor Ymir is still comatose. Yep, and the steam coming from her wounds. Ah, that's a good shot of Hanji. We came here to seal up the wall. And Reiner's got his arm in the sling. And he's like, no, I'm not okay. I Titan shoot through my arm. What do I do? And it hadn't been healing. That's the interesting thing. Like, Ymir is fully aware of her Titan powers and is using them to heal herself slowly but surely. Reiner could have healed himself instantly, but he just doesn't because he doesn't remember he's a warrior, right? And then Armin gets helped up by Eren too. This is the second time this happened, right, Armin? I was stuck inside a Titan's hand before. I've had 2 near-death experiences. I'm not going to be around for much longer at this pace. I chose this path for myself. It seems like being a soldier wears down your mind before your body. Yeah, it's mentally taxing. And Bertolt's just sitting here like, ah. And then Eren's like, yeah, you guys keep getting pulled further away from your hometown. We need to stop that here. And then Reiner's like, oh, and oh my God. This is when Bertolt gets so weird. He's like, our hometown, let's go back. We can already go home. Compared to everything we've been through, it's just a little bit further. We're just a breath away, aren't we? Bertolt is so creepy there because he is trying to influence Reiner to be like, did you forget the cause? Did you forget what we're doing this all for? We're doing this to go home. Like, let's not forget that. I like that Bertolt's just like, screw it. I'm going to play the game if it means getting you back on track. Oh my God. We can worry about Ymir later. And then Hannes. Hannes telling him there is no hole. And if you look, Bertolt and Reiner are nowhere to be seen. Yeah. So at this point, Bertolt's realized, he's like, shit, there is no hole. The Beast Titan never made a hole. It was just to lure everybody here so we could get rid of them and then complete the mission to take Eren and go. He's like, we are about to be found out that there's no hole and we're about to be taken back to Stohess, back there, and the whole mission we're going to start from scratch. He's like, this is our last chance to get Eren and go while the going is good and they're all here easy to take out. He's like, let's go. And he's like, but I need you on board, Reiner, for this. And then Hannes is like, why are you kids here? We'll go to Trost and wait on standby. And then, oh look, there's Reiner and Bertolt in the background. Oh my God. Oh my God. Reiner and Bertolt in the background, like about to reveal everything. And then Hannes with Eren and Mikasa and Armin. Oh my God, Eren. Why in the past 5 years are all of a sudden, oh my God, I get so tense. I get so worked up. Oh my God, Eren. Got a minute? We need to talk about something. Like, Isayama, are you really setting this up just like that? Just like that. The Titan that digs underground have appeared. It's trouble. I just love Isayama. Isayama sets all this fast exposition up and to be like, boom, 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 things are happening. And then the bomb's going to drop. Where he's like, could be a Titan that digs underground. And it's trouble. If it's trouble, it'll be difficult to locate its position. Let's worry about safely transporting Ymir. There's still Titans on the ground after all. 5 years ago, we destroyed the wall and began our attack on humanity. Oh my God! I'm the Armor Titan! He's the Colossus Titan! And Mikasa heard! Shit! It's just as good! Oh my God. What are you saying? What are you telling him, Ryan? Oh, Bertolt was like, wait a minute. Wait. Our goal was to wipe out humanity. There's no need to do that anymore. Oh my God, Bertolt's like, what the fudge? This isn't what I meant. If you come with us, we won't need to destroy any more of the walls. I'm telling you to come with us, but you need to come now. I can't tell you. I guess you'd call it our hometown. If you come back with us to Marley, we won't have to do this. What do you say, Eren? No more crisis for now. Yeah, because if he had gone back with them, they would have destroyed Parody anyway. That was the goal. But they needed Eren to do that, to figure out what he was. Oh my God. I don't know. And then Mikasa's like, shit. He's like, and Bertolt's like, oh crap. And then Aaron's like, my head was already at its limit yesterday. Oh my God. I love Aaron's pensive look, like, Annie's background check came in. There was 2 others from the 104th that were born in the same region as her, Reiner and Bertolt. All the family records are in rough shape. Yep. Those 2 were part of a group that was falsely told that Aaron was on the right side of the expedition, and she appeared on the right side. Doesn't prove anything on its own, but we need to know the relationship of those 3 during the training corps. Yeah, Annie didn't seem close to any of them, and Mika says, like, I don't remember it. But as a member of the 104th, I don't think there's a strong reason to suspect them, putting aside Bertolt, who's always silent. Reiner's like our older brother. He doesn't seem to be clever enough to deceive people. Oh man. And Aaron just being so sure. Reiner fought Annie together with Jean and I. And then Armin realizes he was nearly crushed to death, but that's when it hits Armin. Where the hell is Aaron? Yep. She was looking at letters written on it with a blade that Reiner carved. And Aaron saying, why would you say something like that? Like, Aaron had trusted Reiner. He trusted him so much. Oh. If we find Reiner Bertolt, make them think we don't suspect them. And he's like, you're tired. Remember, Bertolt, the things I've gone through is making you go a little crazy. And Bertolt's like, yeah, Reiner's just tired. If you were really the armored titan that killed so many people. And then that's when Aaron could have stopped there. He could have been like, oh, you're just tired, Reiner. Let's just go back. He could have stopped there, but Aaron's not that type of person. Why would you be talking to me about something like this? Would you expect me to say, okay, let's go after hearing that? Oh my God, that face! Yeah, what was I thinking? Maybe I am crazy. Oh my God. I've been here too long. I've lived here 3 years surrounded by idiots. We were just kids and we didn't know anything. If we'd never heard these bastards existed, we wouldn't have become these half-hearted pieces of shit. Yeah, Reiner's like, he's like, and honestly now it makes sense. Like when he says we've lived here 3 years surrounded by idiots, it's not necessarily so much of an insult as it is, he's like, you guys have been ignorant of what's going on. And he's like, we were kids when we were sitting here. We didn't realize the extent of what was going on. We were just doing what we were told. And if we'd known how much you all didn't know, like we were sent here to destroy you all and you all had no clue we existed. And it's like we weren't sent to fight an enemy. We were sent to eradicate a population that had no clue of our existence. He's like, if we had known about that at the time, then we wouldn't have this whole mess wouldn't have been going down the way it had been. Oh my God. I don't know what's right anymore. I do know I have to face the consequences of my actions. It's like I have to take responsibility and carry out my duty as a warrior to the end. Oh my God, in Aaron's eyes. Are we doing it here now? Yep, we decide this right here. Oh my God. And then Mikasa! Yes! Ah! Woos! Oh my God, girl! Girl! Oh, yeah, she's like, screw you, no! Oh, Mikasa. Oh my God. And now they're all on a boat together. Well, not Aaron, not Bertolt. Technically Bertolt. Oh my God. Oh! And she almost got his head. She almost got Bertolt's head. Oh, what if she had? What if she had? Oh my God. And her protecting Aaron. Oh, man. Shit. Yeah, and then, oh. She's like, Aaron, get out of here. Oh. And Reiner getting her. Oh, my God. Oh. my god. Bertolt. That's such a sad face that Bertolt makes where he's like, I didn't want to do this, but she also tried to chop my head off. Again, the idea that there was no talking it out, that Mikasa just sprung into action. Granted, but oh man, the anime makes this scene so much. Oh my god, so epic, but still. Oh, that's so good. Oh, the thing with Bertolt is so creepy, but he's so distraught, right? And he transforms just because he's forced in the moment. Oh my god. And then Reiner grabbing Eren. And then Bertolt grabs Ymir. Oh my god. Oh. And then they go to jump from the wall. Oh yeah, and Bertolt's like stuck into the wall with the rib cage like getting into the wall. That's so creepy. And then Eren with him crying. Oh, that's such a good shot of Eren, like the hair flowing back. Reiner, Bertolt, you traitors. Oh my god. And then, yeah. Continued in volume 11. Oh my god. And here's the thing. It's so... The contrast, right? The contrast where Ymir opened up to Historia to explain. She didn't explain fully why she was doing the things that she was doing, but she did open up to Historia and say, you know, I'm doing this for this reason, and here's something about my life, and I want you to know this about me. So that when she transforms into a Titan, Historia is like, but wait, there are reasons she's doing what she's doing, and I think we should hear her out and do this. And Historia tries to make that dialogue like Connie was ready to turn on Ymir and be like, oh, we gotta kill her, we gotta do this. And Historia was like, no, we need to talk with her. There's a reason she's doing the things that she's doing. We need to find out what that is, right? And here, there's not that communication. So when Reiner and Bertolt transform and their whole justification, they explain why they do explain that years ago they did this, but Eren doesn't fully get the understanding of, oh, there's a bigger picture going on. It's not just that they came here to destroy us. There's something else happening. But instead, whereas Eren kind of takes the Connie logic and is like, you all are traitors, you gotta go. And just doesn't question anything else about it. And you get why he does it in the moment. It all makes sense. But it's just looking in hindsight where you had Historia kind of wanting to find out more. Eren's like, no, let's just get rid of him. Oh man. Evil Titan. Band together and attack the evil Titan. Fight on, Survey Corps. Wow, and that again, that is the simplification of it, where it's Eren and the others versus Bertolt, and it's just like, oh man, fight the evil Titan, because that's all this is, good versus evil, right? Nothing more complicated than that, right? Oh, Isayama. It was just as epic in the manga as it was in the anime. That was incredible. Oh my god. Y'all. That was just as epic as incredible as it was in the anime. I will say though, the anime, the music, the animation, I feel like if you had watched this, if you had read this in the manga and then you were waiting for the anime adaptation of it, I cannot imagine how incredible that was to see this animated, because it's so freaking good. It's one of the most iconic moments of the whole series, and it's so early on that you're just like, that's why Warrior is one of my favorite episodes. Like, honestly, the stuff leading up to the reveal is fine. There's a lot of thematic stuff there about Reiner and Eren helping each other, Eren helping Reiner up, and Eren helping Armin up. Like, there's a lot of thematic little things, and Historia being revealed. her name and her connection to the royal family, and trying to get Hanji to trust Ymir and all this, and trying to build that trust. And that's something too. Hanji is so open-minded that Hanji was like, okay, I will hear her out. Like, I think there's, underneath the surface, there's obviously Eren. Eren immediately jumps to, you two are traitors for what you're doing. Whereas instead, Ymir tries to convince Hanji, like, hey, Ymir's not a traitor. Let's hear her out. There has to be a reason behind what they're doing. And there's those two dichotomies there. And you have Hanji on the receiving end that is open-minded and wants to know more before passing a judgment, right? So yeah, it's, you get all that, that's fascinating. But honestly, what makes Warrior so good is the reveal, how it just comes out of nowhere. It's not prefaced. There's no build up to it. There's no dramatic dun dun dun. It's just like an afterthought. It's just barely happening in the background. You're sitting as the reader going, the fudge? Now? We're getting this reveal now? Just add it. Isayama's just like, bomb, bye. And then just lets it blow up in your face. And it's so good. It's like one of the best done reveals. Even when you see it coming, like, I feel like, is it the most shocking reveal? No. I feel like I'm going to use Isayama versus My Hero Academia's mangaka, Horikoshi. I'm going to use them as two examples of handling a reveal that is predicted the way that they do. So there's a little bit of My Hero Academia spoilers for the newest season that's come out. So when I get to those, I'll hold my hand up so you know when to not listen if you don't be spoiled on My Hero Academia. But you have two ways to handle, because I would argue in both the reveal with My Hero Academia I'm about to talk about, and Isayama's reveal of the Colossal and Armored Titan, they are two reveals that, as the audience, you kind of have suspicions about, right? Because by that point, I was like, Reiner and Bertolt, could they be the Armored and Colossal Titan? It kind of makes sense. I think they are. And in My Hero Academia, the spoiler is that Dabi is in fact Toya Todoroki. So whenever I hold my hand up, I will be spoiling My Hero Academia. So you have these two reveals that the audience has kind of built up over time, thinking that I think this is the case. It's not a reveal that comes out of nowhere. It's not a reveal that you're like, oh, whoa, what? Because there's a reveal in Bungo Stray Dogs that just happened that came out of nowhere. And I was like, holy cow. But it was something you didn't really have any preparation for. This and the My Hero Academia one, you have preparation where you kind of have suspicious ideas, like maybe this is the case. But My Hero Academia and Attack on Titan handle it in two very different ways. My Hero Academia has Toya Todoroki revealed to be Dabi by him being the most dramatic, flamboyant, over-the-top, like he douses himself with the chemical to make his hair color go back to normal. He does the dance. He's like, this is the reveal. You all saw it coming, but now I'm going to revel in it. Like, it's this big, over-the-top, flamboyant production, and I love it. It's so well done, because you as the audience have built up all this time suspecting the reveal, and then Horikoshi's like, yeah, we've all known it all along. Now let's have a party and celebrate it. That's how the My Hero Academia reveal feels. It feels like a reveal that's over the top. It's flamboyant. It's an obvious thing we as the audience have known all along. And Horikoshi's just reveling in it, being like, you were right. Now let's celebrate and do something with it. With Isayama, he goes the exact opposite route. He's like, okay, yeah, you guys have figured out that Bertolt's the Colossal Titan and Reiner's the Armored Titan. You guys figured it out. Cool. So you're probably wondering when I'm going to drop this revelation on everybody and let them all know. I'm doing it now. Bye. Like, it's so subtle, and it's not celebratory. It's not like over the top or flamboyant or reveling in itself. It's just like, here it is. And it's so polar opposite. And I love anytime a creator does it in both those veins now. I'm all about it. Like, either be like Horikoshi and know your audience knows the reveal already and revel and celebrate in it, or know your audience knows the revelation and the surprise and just drop it out of nowhere like a bomb and let us deal with it. Like those are the two coolest ways to do a reveal like that. Like, I love those two ways that those authors do it, and I think it works out so well. But the Warrior reveal, just chef's kiss. It's one of the best, I think, narrative just droppings in a manga that you could do, and it's so wonderfully done. I love Warrior. One of my favorites. It's one of my favorites. It always will be. It's one of the most iconic moments in Attack on Titan. It's just gives you such good vibes. So yeah, man, I really, really loved this volume. This volume was so freaking good. Again, not a lot. I mean, lots of thematic things. Plot wise, is it the most engaging plot ever? No, there's plenty more down the road that will be more impactful with the plot. But it's just those little character development moments with Connie and Reiner, with Ymir and Historia, with Eren and Reiner, and just those little tiny moments that are going to have impact later on in the story that we set the foundation for here. I love it. I freaking love it. So yeah. But in any case, I'm excited to know your comments down below about this content. Chef's kiss, y'all. So glad we got it. And now we get the aftermath next volume. Hell yeah. So in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe. Take care. And yeah, I'll be back next week with volume 11 of Attack on Titan. Bye.